Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to the Sacramento Public Library Authority Board. Today's date is July 27, 2023. It's 3 p.m., actually 3:03 p.m., and this meeting is called to order. And at this time, I'll ask our board clerk if you would please call the roll and establish quorum and read the public notes.
Shauna Lowy, Karina Talamantes, Katie Valenzuela, Katie Maple,
Here.
Mai Vang, Phil Cerna,
Here.
Patrick Kennedy, Rich Desmond, Sue Frost,
Here.
Pat Hume, Mary Jane Lopez Taff, Rob Brewer, Kevin Spees, Sean Farmer, Garrett Gatewood, Bina Lefkowitz,
Here.
Saul Hernandez, Karina Talamantes.
Here.
We have a quorum with 9 members present.
Thank you. And Ms. Karina, Director Karina, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Salute, pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
That was interesting.
Good job, Director Brewer.
I'll read this statement.
There's a little bit of a delay, I think.
This meeting of the Sacramento Public Library Authority is cablecast live on Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and live streamed at metro14live.saccounty.net. Today's meeting will be repeated Saturday, July 29 at 4 p.m. on Channel 14 and can also be viewed on Metro Cable 14's YouTube channel. The meeting will also be recorded via Zoom. A DVD copy will be available upon request no later than 2 weeks following today's meeting. The full agenda, including reports, is available on the library website at www.saclibrary.org. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should complete a speaker identification form located at the back table and give it to the clerk. Members attending via Zoom should raise their hand in the Zoom program. Please speak clearly when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard.
And I want to just pause for just a moment to especially welcome Bina Lefkowitz, who is an appointee of Director Kennedy. And welcome, Bina. We're happy to have you here. And item number 2 is public comment on matters not on the agenda.
No hands raised in the Zoom program.
Okay, and we have no hands in the audience. And so our next item is presentations, 3.1, Friends of the Sacramento Public Library.
Hello, members of the JPA. My name is Devon Graves, and I currently serve as the Vice President for the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library. As always, thank you so much for the opportunity to provide a presentation to you all. Since your last meeting, the Friends had their All Friends meeting at the end of June, where we were able to celebrate our 60th anniversary celebration. We were able to get together and celebrate those 60 years and talk about the future of the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library. We're also happy to report that membership is up. And when we look at our June numbers compared to June of last year, we are still increasing in membership. So your work in promoting how to join the Friends is crucial to that. So thank you for that support. If you haven't seen some of the advertisement, the Book Den is appreciative of all the book donations that they've been receiving, and they appreciate it so much that they are doing a book bag sale. So if you or friends or family are in need of some books, I recommend you stop by the Book Den on July 28th and 29th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We will be having our book bag sale. For some other business items, we want to thank the library with the ongoing conversations with the book sales guidelines. We also look forward to future conversations and collaborations about Friends money distribution to the local branches and also the winter book giveaway. And I want to make sure to address one of the items that is before you today for action, which is the vision for the facilities plans. I know that the recommendations for this plan are stated as quote unquote aspirational and strategic. The Friends asks and hope that there will be continued conversations based off of the decisions made today, especially related to some of the recommendations related to replacing some of the branch locations. It is important that Friends are included in those conversations and continue to consult and support a shared vision for the library. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to present on behalf of the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library.
Thank you, Devon, and as always, thank you for all that you and the Friends of the Library do for the system, the library system literacy in general in Sacramento. And I also want to mention, let the record show that Director Mai Vang has joined us. Welcome, Mai Vang. And our next item, do any of the directors have any questions? No questions or comments? Okay. Next item is 3.2 Sacramento Kings Library cards. And I think presenting is Lisa Martinez.
You want to? I can handle that, Chair Frost.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure Lisa was prepared to present.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was in my
it's
notes.
All right.
And I'm just a habit of reading notes. Sorry.
Yeah, we have a little video we'd like to share first. So if we
Okay,
can
thank
have
you.
the-
Perfect. Thank you. Lisa probably did.
Okay. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, members of the board, and I think that video demonstrates the success that we've had in the last couple weeks of this special edition Sacramento Kings Library card. As the presentation showed, we had over 1,624 new library cards issued through this promotion, which is a lot in just 2 weeks. And so we're really happy that the residents of our area have embraced this partnership with the Sacramento Kings. We want to thank them for being partners with us on this, and thank members of the authority board who've helped promote this on social media and get your own cards and whatnot. So if any of you don't have your Sacramento Kings Library card, you can get one. We are replacing existing cards, and we are giving new library cards. So anyone that wants one can get one. We're really excited about that. And we will, at the end, if you don't mind, we'd like to take a photo up. We have a giant Sacramento Kings Library card.
That's
So
great.
afterwards, we'll take a picture, and we're really hoping to continue this promotion. And I want to thank Lisa Martinez and our communications department who worked on this. This was an idea of mine I had late one night, and I sent an email to Lisa, and they started on it. And the Kings were really responsive, very willing and eager to work with us. And I think it's a really great thing that we can do for the community to support our hometown team, and we're hoping that they do really good next season too. So maybe the library cards will help. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
We support the purple, right? That's great. Thank you. And thank you, Lisa. That was a great movie, great video. Okay. Did you want to take but you wanted to take a photo later, right?
We can do it at the end of the meeting.
Okay, great. And Director Talamantes has some comments.
Incredible job, Peter and Lisa, and to your entire communications team. The level of excitement that I saw from the community from Sacramento about this idea, which I have my library card with me right now, and I carry it with pride, was really exciting. So sometimes the best ideas, you shoot off emails really late at night, and that's where the magic comes from. So keep up the good work, and now I'm excited to see what other kind of partnerships we could do, and if you need our assistance on anything, please let us know.
Wonderful. Well stated. And Director Maple.
Thank you, Chair. I also just want to say I was on vacation, and I never thought that I would feel a sense of envy of everyone who was back in Sacramento while I was on a beach in Hawaii. But I was looking at my phone, notifications going off, and everyone posting about their new library card. And I wish I could have been there, but I will be picking up mine soon. And I just, again, want to thank the team. This is a wonderful collaboration.
Thank you, Director Maples. Great job. All right. Our next item, 3.3, we'll be discussing in one of our later items on the agenda, correct? And so item 4 is our executive team report.
Okay. Chair Frost, thank you. My report is there. The item I wanted to highlight was the Sacramento Kings, so we've done that. There are some other items in there about some facilities updates and some staffing things. But one of the other things I want to highlight is our lunch in the library. We continued success with that. We are up 20% over last year this time, and we're up over 30% for program attendance last year this time. So we're having lots of success in this program. We're having a lot more people come to that. We've also rolled out a mobile kitchen, which we're doing some food instruction, and we'll do a presentation on the success of this at another meeting. But I also do want to, talking about how summer lunch has increased, I just want to draw your attention to the statistics as part of the report, that our visits to the library are up 67% over this time last year, and checkouts are up 65%. So I think that we are on the upswing in terms of attendance and use of the library. I think people are doing more in out and about, and we're seeing that in the library. So we're continued to make sure we're meeting the needs of our users and watching the use and making sure we're deploying resources and programs where it would be best beneficial for our users. So we're really excited about that. I'm happy to answer any questions about my report or anything else that the board might have.
I don't see anyone in the queue, but I do have a question regarding the King's library cards. Was there a certain area of the county where you had more participation, and when they get the cards, are they coming right in to use the library? Do you see a difference in the attendance at the libraries?
Yeah, so I don't know if we're seeing a specific area of the county having getting more cards than others. We haven't really tracked that, but I do think that based on social media and some of our staff's experience, we have people coming in just to get the card. They've never used the library, haven't had a card, so they're getting new cards. So I think we're getting a lot of engagement that way, and it really is bringing people in the door, which is what we were hoping for.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah.
Okay. Good marketing minds.
Yeah.
Okay. That concludes our executive team report. And so the next item 5 is information. I'll ask if any directors have questions about the informational items. And I don't know if Johnny was going to present on this item or just be available for questions.
I think at this point he's available for questions.
Hi, Johnny. And we do not seem to have any questions. I wonder if we have any public comment on this item? No public comment, and so we'll move on to the next item, which is consent. And I can just quickly read our consent items: 6.1, action summary, contract amendment, and contract approval for Tyler Technologies Enterprise ERP upgrade. And I wonder if we have any directors with questions or a motion for a motion. Thank you. Thank you. Director Maples for a motion and Talamantes for second. And do we have any public comment on this item? With no public comment, please call the roll.
Sean Laloe. Karina Talamontes. Katie Valenzuela.
Yes.
Katie Maple.
Aye.
Mai Vang.
Yes.
Phil Cerna.
Aye.
Patrick Kennedy. Rich Desmond. Sue Frost.
Aye.
Pat Hume. Mary Jane Lopez Taft.
Yes.
Rod Brewer.
Aye.
Kevin Spees.
Aye.
Sean Farmer.
Aye.
Garrett Gatewood. Bina Lefkowitz.
Yes.
Saul Hernandez.
Aye.
Motion passes with 12 members present.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is an action item, approval of the Sacramento Public Library Authority Facilities Vision Plan.
So Chair Frost, we have Jill Ayers with Group 4 Architecture who's going to give the presentation.
Good afternoon, Jill.
Hello.
Thank-
Jill Ayers. I am maybe the newest King's Card holder.
That's great.
Moment. I'm thrilled that I could be here on such an important day. Jill Ayers, Associate Principal with Group 4 Architecture Research and Planning. I have a presentation for you today that I hope is as concise as I could make it, but this has been a significant process with a lot of input and a lot of great things to come out of it. So I will be as high level as I can and concise. I do promise you that there are no charts or graphs in my presentation.
Oh.
So with that, I wanted to take you through an overview of the process we went through, kind of follow, if you haven't had a chance to read the report yet, you know, the flow of the report and kind of the findings and how it all came out. And then there will be, at the end, I'm happy to take any questions or comments you may have, but if you have clarification questions you want along the way, please feel free to interrupt me. My firm, Group 4 Architecture Research and Planning, we are a Bay Area-based practice that practices nationally in public libraries. We do design and long-range planning for large urban library systems such as Sacramento Public Library. This does not mean that we have the same answer for everybody. It doesn't mean that we know the right answer for everybody, but it does give us a lot of perspective and help us recognize the unique qualities of each library, such as Sacramento Public. We also have a more than 20-year history of working with Sacramento Public Library. One of my first jobs when I started at Group 4 21 years ago was assisting with helping the library apply for 3 state grants for Valley High and Orangevale and Elk Grove. We've designed your current Elk Grove Old Town Library. We're designing the new one now, and of course this process as well. So always happy to be a collaborator for the library. The library, as you know, has 28 locations. We've got very small branches, we've got very large central library and everything in between. The JPA member jurisdictions are responsible for providing and maintaining those facilities. The library simply operates the buildings that they are given. They don't own or control any of them. That's the first statement we made up front in all of our community listening sessions. So in a sense, this is not a true master plan for facilities, and I hope I can put Mr. Graves' mind to rest that this is not the plan that the library is going to be marching forward with. The purpose of this project really was to articulate and describe the qualities of spaces and facilities that help the Sacramento Public Library do their work efficiently, effectively, and have the most positive impact for the community. There was a county plan that actually started a little bit before, and so the purpose of this also was to build on the good work that went into that plan and look at the whole system overall. And then, of course, to include the voices of as many staff, stakeholders, community members, partners as we could during the process. That process, the county's plan, started in the very start of 2020. It was primarily in its beginning a facilities plan. It was to help the county plan how to invest in its facilities, where maintenance was going to be needed, where facilities might need to be expanded or placed so that it could proactively plan for keeping its facilities in good shape and operational. 2020 didn't quite turn out the way we thought, so that process stretched out a little bit longer. At the same time, Sacramento Public Library wanted to initiate this visioning process for the system overall, but it had other priorities. COVID happened, it pivoted quickly toward virtual programming, toward curbside services, toward assisting the county and the cities with things like COVID test kits, providing warming shelters where needed. All kinds of things were happening. So we stepped back and had the privilege of watching the library innovate and adapt in real time to this new disruption and this new reality. So that was actually very helpful for us and informative in this planning process as well. Over the course of the process, we had, by our count, more than 3,800 people directly engaged in the process, whether through a community survey that was out, and I think 5 languages, it might have been 6, but it was at least 5. We had 6 community listening sessions earlier this year. We engaged teens, lots of engagement with staff. Every staff member was invited to participate, and many did. So we feel like we got a good kind of broad cross-section of the county and the priorities. So what did we hear along the way? What was the community's vision? Big themes that came out of the process. Community loves your library. They love the services it provides, and they really appreciate all that the library does for the community. COVID has changed none of that, of the community's value for the library. The library has a wonderful team, and it is also fundamental to what the community loves and appreciates about the Sacramento Public Library. And the community loves the library as a place. Well before COVID, there was the idea that things being available online were going to replace the library, and the library was going to be obsolete, and that has not proved true. Director Coyle told us how people are coming back in larger and larger numbers every day. The physical place of the library is important to the community, and as far as we can tell, will remain so. The library is lending all kinds of things, gardening supplies and seeds and bikes and musical instruments, and the community is all over it, loves it, wants even more of it. That idea of sharing things community-wide is really resonating here in Sacramento County. Wanting even more programs. Someone in one of the community listening sessions earlier this year used the term learning community for the library, and I really liked that expression, so that's made its way into the plan as well. More places to be both alone and together in the same building. Not a building that has to be quiet because it's so small and there's only a few places to sit, and not a building that's so loud that people who want a place to come and sit quietly can't be there at the same time. People want both and those things. Accessible libraries. It's not just ramps and elevators, but it is about open libraries, access to libraries that are open, robust hours, libraries that can remain open because their building systems can, function during extremely hot weather, extremely cold weather. They are robust enough to stay open when needed. Your communities deserve inclusive libraries. You have a very, very diverse county here, and everyone should have a place in the library. And then just well-maintained libraries. Libraries that are well-maintained, that are up to date, not just clean, but functional. The building systems work well and they look well-kept. Those reflect the respect that the library has for the community and vice versa. So how does all of this translate into the library's vision for its facilities? The vision that the library has of its facilities is buildings that can adapt and change, that are flexible, that can change hour to hour, day to day, and evolve over time as the community's interests, priorities, needs also evolve and adapt. North Natomas Library is a great example of this. It's got the size, it's built with big open spaces that can change multiple times, even just with a little bit of furniture change, and it still looks great and operates very, very well. The new Elk Grove Library that's going to be in the old Rite Aid building, I guess, and the proposed vision for the News and Review building, the new North Sacramento Hagenwood branch, are very consistent with this vision. Those are really wonderful opportunities. You've got some libraries that are a little bit less flexible and agile than that. The McKinley Library, it's shown here on the left, it looks a whole lot like it did in 1936 when it first opened. There's things you can do with furniture in the small amount of space, but there's a lot of challenges in that space as well. And then the McClatchy Library, beautiful old house, lovely part of Sacramento history. This is one of my planners. She's 5'2". She can stick her fingers into the overhead lights in this building. And this is not the kind of flexible, sort of agile building that is part of Sacramento Public Library's vision. Again, nothing wrong with the building, but trying to provide agile, modern services in there is a real challenge. Franklin, joint use library with the school district. This is another one of those examples where the library doesn't have the full autonomy to change things that it may want to change when the community's priorities change. So it's just another example of a different kind of flexibility. The vision includes facilities that are appealing, that are attractive, they're up to date, they're in great condition. Arcade Library is an example of that. And then we have other ones that, aren't quite living up to that vision. Central Library here on the left, it's flooded several times, I think, but the picture here is from the 2020 Great Flood of 2020, when the plumbing leaked and filled the lower level with water. It's, I think, a couple $1 million worth of damage over the last few years is what I've heard has been invested in just taking care of damage from failing systems at Central Library. And then Fair Oaks and Rancho Cordova are two examples of ones where they're not obviously falling apart in a way, but they are due for work. New roof, mechanical systems need to be updated, electrical system needs to be updated. And those are the things that it's harder for the community to see, but are really important. And when they fail, it becomes a really big problem. And then equity of access. There was a study, this is the closest thing I have to a chart or a graph, is this analysis. So this is analysis we did that looks at how people in Sacramento County move around, which libraries they use relative to where they live. And big picture, your communities are very mobile, and they use not just the library that's closest to home, but go to one that may be close to where they work, where they shop, where they go to school. It may be all of those things. People use more than one library as well. So big picture, like your current network of branches is pretty good at giving people access to the physical spaces and resources that the Sacramento Public Library provides. That said, there's one or two areas where you'll want to pay attention to it. One is Oak Park. The Oak Park had a branch until, I think, 1989, when it was consolidated with Fruit Ridge and the Mabel Gillis branch into what is now Colonial Heights. Through this process, we've heard a little bit of that scar tissue still exists. There's still an awareness that was taken away. And this analysis does give us a kind of sense of that those people who are living there aren't making their way over to Colonial Heights as much as perhaps was thought, even though it's very, very close. In the same area, like the McClatchy and McKinley both, they have a very small ability to attract people to that branch. It's a very close distance that people are willing to travel to get there compared to your Elk Groves or your King Libraries or the ones in the north part of the county where people really can get there from quite a long way away. And then there's going to be growth in the county in the future, particularly to the south and east, Rancho Cordova, and there's a site on Vineyard that have both been identified as places where branches could or probably should be provided in the future. So making sure that future populations have the same access that your current populations do have now. And then Central Library. It is, I think, as I mentioned, it's got some maintenance challenges. It just predates the American with Disabilities Act coming into effect, and so it was not designed with any of that in mind. It has a lot of maintenance needs, but even beyond that, it is a model of 20th century central library services that doesn't necessarily fit every library system anymore. And Sacramento Public is ready to talk about a different model for what its central library looks like. What are the recommendations? You'll see, because the library doesn't have control over its own facilities, the table that we have in the report has sort of two columns. And one is that right side, enhance and expand service. If they could wave a magic wand, this is the kinds of things they'd like to talk with the jurisdictions about for some of these facilities. This is where we get some of the relocates or replace, expand. But the baseline strategy, that column just to the left of it, is as long as we're in the facilities we're in, these are the kinds of things we'd like to see happen here so that we can be as effective as possible in the current facilities. Different categories. The facilities that are, like the North Natomas that I showed earlier, Orange Vales, they're up to date, they look good, they're in good shape, they're in the right location, they basically work pretty well. Just keep up the good work, keep them well maintained, keep them up to date when they need to be updated. No big recommendations there other than what's there. We have a term that we call focus or refocus. This is for the little ones, where it's hard to do a whole full service library's worth of service in a very small space. Del Paso Heights is a good example of focusing service in a small location, kind of dialing that in and making it very children and family teen oriented. Put the lockers outside or the kiosk outside to help keep that access to materials for the community, but not trying to do everything in every location. There's branches around it where people can go for bigger program space, more technology, those kinds of things, leaning on the network to help with those. Renovate and reinvent. These are some of your branches that you need a little bit more work, or there's opportunities to do something a little bit more robust than new carpet and new furniture when it comes time. The lady there on the right in the King Library, we want to imagine that she's envisioning what's about to happen to her library now that the grant funding has come in and that design is about to start for reinvention of that branch. And then these are the ones where, for various reasons, it would be nice to think about something different. A couple of these are in progress. What we're calling Elk Grove East here is really that new Elk Grove Rite Aid Library. And then Elk Grove West is currently Franklin, but there's, for those of you who are familiar with Elk Grove, that District 56 site, that prime corner of Bighorn and Civic Center Drive, that has always been reserved for a new branch library. Big, same scale as a Valley High or North Natomas or something going right there. That is the A corner. Others, we talked about Fair Oaks, back to the one that's got a lot more work coming up. Do you reinvest in a building that doesn't have many windows and it isn't quite what you want, or do you say let's start over with something new and modern and that can support community needs well into the future? And then North Sacramento Hagenwood, that's the News and Review building. That's a super exciting opportunity. And then the last category, just the two new ones at some point when growth happens, finding places for those two new branches. With that, the document, which the new one is the vision plan. It's a two-parter, the county's facilities plan that was published in 2021, both available online for anyone who wants to read them. And this is where I hope I didn't go on too long, and I invite comments and questions from the board.
I don't see any yet. While people are thinking, I want to say, I think thanks is in order to the county, because I think they actually saved us a lot of money by allowing us to piggyback on their plans around their library study and planning that they did. So I wanted to just thank the county for that. I also wanted to And I see Director Maple queued up, so I'll just make one more of my little comments. Is it really true that you can check out a lawnmower at the library? Wow.
Yes, yeah, you can check out our library of things at the arcade library. Lawnmower, hedge clippers, you name it, power washer. We have all those wonderful things.
Too, I think.
Yeah, an auger, a sander. So for everybody who has their do-it-yourself needs, we have a tool for you.
That's at that one library. Which one?
That particular one is where at the arcade library where we have the lawnmower and the other power tools. We also do have a smaller collection at the Fair Oaks Library.
That is so, I should have known that, but I didn't. So that's really wonderful. Yeah, that's very cool. If my lawnmower breaks down or my gardener gets sick, I guess I should say. But thank you. Or if my gardener's lawnmower breaks down, right? Director Maples.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I was just going to, I think that Director Talamantes had some ideas. We often talk about her many house projects. So I think that she got some ideas on where to get those things. I just wanted to start out and say that this is a really excellently done report. And I know how much, I don't actually know, I've never done one of this scale or of this work, but I can imagine the amount of time and energy that went into this. And I really appreciate the focus on talking with community members and getting their input in a real way, not checking a box and saying, hey, yeah, we did a community meeting over here and had 5 people show up, like really getting that input and ensuring that it's incorporated throughout the report. I very much appreciated that. It's also like a good read. It's very interesting. I'm learning a lot about the big picture, but also in depth, each individual location, what the challenges are, what the grades are. Really appreciated that. And then also wanted to note that I appreciated the comments on, I think it's page 168, about Oak Park. That's a community that I represent, and I can tell you that is a very big issue, as you know too. The Friends of the Oak Park Library is an organization that is very active there and has been collecting signatures for years now, thousands of signatures to bring a library back to Oak Park. It's an important, it would be a very important resource to the community, and it's something that's a high priority for me. So I hope that we can make that vision a reality one day. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Maple. And I don't see anyone else in the
Mayor
queue.
Frost, there are 4 people with comments in the Zoom
I'm
program.
very sorry. I forgot about the people online. Thank you.
First
I can't
comment
see them.
is, Director Lopez Taft.
Okay, please, Director Lopez Taft.
Thank you so much. My question is very basic. In the table of contents on the report, Sylvan Oaks Library, which is the library that's in my area, was not mentioned in the profiles. Did you only profile libraries that needed significant change, or how was the profiling? I just wasn't sure because you do count Sylvan Oaks in the rest of the report. So I was just curious about that.
So Sylvan Oaks is actually in the county's plan that was published in 2021. So we didn't repeat the content into this new document. It's a volume 1 and a volume 2.
Got it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, that facility is a county facility. It's not, so that's why it's in the county report and not the city side of the report.
Yeah, and just for clarification, because that might be before some of the members that are here now really knew about it. The county began their exploration of their library system and updating their plan in, I think, 2020, early 2020 or late 2019. And that conversation was, I think it kind of emanated from some of the requests that were coming from the outlying areas for upgrades or, improvements on some of the smaller libraries. And we were just trying to wrap our heads around what is really appropriate for the demographic and the population and, who serves what area. And we just needed to understand a little better before we started putting a lot of money into any one of the libraries for upgrades. And when the county started that plan, that's when the library board began to think maybe that this is a good time for us to do it as well, because we can kind of piggyback on what the county is doing and save money, really. And then the whole system can be, we can have an updated plan for the entire system. And the county was willing to work with us and worked very well with us, and that saved us a lot of money. So that's why the volume 1 started earlier with the county, but there was some delays with COVID. And some major disruption, just maybe not disruption, maybe just we're more creative now, really, because of COVID, it changed the way the library system works. And so I think it's going to be better, actually, because of all the stress we went through. There's good things that came out of it. So those, you were in the first phase of it, and so I don't know if all the directors have both of those volumes.
Yes, that would have been my next question. Is there any way we can get a copy of that information, or at least the link?
We can definitely send the link to the PDFs out, and we can get physical copies for members if they'd like a physical copy as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, we'll send that email out this afternoon.
Okay, perfect. Is that pretty much conclude your questions, Mary Jane?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do see some hands now, and I'm not sure if I should just go from the next one in line. It looks like Director Valenzuela.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, staff, for this report. I will admit that it gave me a lot of heartburn because that list of reports, when you talk about libraries that potentially might need to relocate or be reconsidered, you named all 3 that were in my district, the only 3 in the central city part of the city. And I know a lot of folks who don't live here think of the central city as like the commuter destination where people go to work, but there are a lot of people who live here. The average income is $32,000 for the central city. This is not across the board a very affluent community. So that would mean our nearest libraries would be the Del Paso Heights Library in North Sacramento, and the next ones would be Colonial Heights and Bell Coolidge, just to give like a geographic, like if those 3 libraries aren't able to be repaired, not only we'd also be limiting access for Oak Park, who might not have their own library, but at least could get to McKinley or McClatchy pretty close. And I know some of you probably got some of the correspondence from my constituents when McClatchy was closed, because they felt very, very, very strongly that they wanted that library reopened, and were really excited when we were able to figure that out. So I guess I just wanted to put a fine point on that and talk about next steps. I know you talk about some of that in the report, but I'd love to just hear again, because like I talk about my district, but this is also all of Land Park, all of Curtis Park. Like this is a very significant percentage of the city of Sacramento, 60,000 people just in my district, which is as large as some of your cities, including all of the, like a good half of Rick Jennings's district will now not have proximate access to a library unless we're able to figure out a strategy for those 3 facilities. So I guess I just would love to hear maybe a little bit more dialogue about things we could be doing or strategies. I know you're talking to the city, since it's obviously our job to maintain these things, but this is both the joy and the heartbreak of representing one of the oldest parts of our region. Is that that's everything. That's our sewer system, that's our roads, that's like I hear that across the board anytime anything's needed in our city. It's like, well, you got to figure out a way to pay for it, and like we just don't have that much money. So what are other ideas or strategies, or can you update on conversations or thoughts about those 3 buildings? Because I'm really, really alarmed about the fact that all 3 geographically within a whole big radius of the city of Sacramento might potentially not be there in the future.
I got lost in the. Did you follow the question?
So.
I got a little lost.
I think so. I mean, I heard how important that these branches are to the community, and that's absolutely true. And we heard that in the process. And there's nowhere in this plan that says, you have too many branches, you should close some. Like that's absolutely not it. What it tries to do is say, here's the buildings that are fairly good with continued investment should continue to be good, strong branches. Other ones that are, boy, if you had the chance to talk to somebody about something that was a little bit bigger, in the same area that could serve this community even better than the one that you have now does, it's worth talking about. We did not, because the library doesn't control any of these buildings, get into the weeds on where would the money come from? When would it be? What would this alternative location actually, look like or be? It was simply the start of a conversation with the city of Sacramento about, these are the buildings that when it comes time to talk about them again, whether they're worth reinvesting, whether we might want to look at something else, or if opportunities arise. News and Review building, maybe nobody knew that was coming up, but it was there and you were able to jump on it. So that's hopefully what this document is trying to do. Do you want to talk about how you're providing services in those facilities now?
Yeah,
I don't really, if I could, and because I want to make sure my question is clear since the chair asked for that. I guess, what are our options moving forward? Because I know you're talking to the city, but I've heard talk about a bond for the library system. I've heard a few different people have mentioned to me over the months different ideas for ways that we could make, obviously it's a partnership between the jurisdiction and the library, but none of us have the ability to print money. So if we did, that would be great, but we don't. If anyone from the feds is listening, give us a lot of money for our libraries. But I guess I'm curious what comes next in these conversations. It's obviously pushing this to the cities and saying, hey, we need to figure out something with these buildings because they're below par is one thing. I guess I'm just curious to hear if staff has talked at all about ideas for how we might achieve that goal for those buildings.
Okay, then I need to look at the library and what are you planning to do with this now?
And are we prioritizing certain branches over others as a higher priority, I guess?
Well, I mean,
good question.
Very, very, very good questions. Thank you. And really what this is this really is getting the conversation started about it. I mean, these are things that we've all talked about really with the status of a lot of our locations, the deferred maintenance issues. And this is really the way to get the conversation going and to help prioritize moving forward, right, with the respective jurisdictions. I mean, a lot of times with our libraries, let's face it, they're built, and then 20, 30, 40 years passes, and the state of library services has changed significantly as the report shows. So really, this is our starting point, I think, to move forward with conversations and figure out how we can provide library spaces that can accommodate the 21st century library services that we're doing right now, how they can be flexible, how they can be agile. So this is the beginning of the conversation. And yes, to Director Maple, sorry, we're having a moment here.
Valenzuela.
Katie.
Sorry, I had a senior moment.
We all have them, or some of us do.
Yeah, and so like I said, this is our opportunity to start prioritizing and starting that conversations with the jurisdiction, because this helped us give us feedback from the community and what the community wants to see. They want to see the agile spaces. And we're struggling in some locations, and this is the opportunity to start the conversation. Apologize for the rambling there.
No, it's okay. I guess. Oh, go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, I was going to say, I think this also just hearkening back to Devon's comments, we hope we're not just going to look at this study and then not come back and continue this conversation or updates. And that was one of the things that I was thinking would be really good if we could have regular and either annual or maybe annual. Let's, prioritize annually what our goals are for that year and kind of try to put together a plan that's going to move us forward on a regular, ongoing basis.
Well,
go ahead.
If I could share, I just will say that I would love to be a part of those conversations with the city. I'll make that a request through our public works director as well. I will say for Central City Library Galleria, I don't know if we have a year or two before we need to start talking about substantial improvements to that site, or if there's other things that are needed. So I just want to say that if other city colleagues want to reach out to your city departments as well, that's a next step I'm going to give myself. And Peter, I'd love as your team is working with the city to be included in those conversations, because this to me is just the fact that we're even putting these libraries on the list is maybe we won't, we have to re-examine them in the future, to me is the early enough alarm bell that we should be starting now with a plan for how to do what we need to do for those buildings. So that'd be my request.
And we will certainly include you, Councilmember Valenzuela. Like I said, this is the start of the conversation. This gives us some talking points and a place to have those conversations with the jurisdiction about what our priorities are, and we look forward to working with you on that.
Okay, thank you, Director Valenzuela. Our next Director Brewer.
Thank you, Chair Frost. I really enjoyed the report, but what I thought was very interesting is the thought process in looking at facilities that are nimble, able to adapt and grow within the existing construct to allow us to be more serviceable to the community coming into the future. But I was curious about in the respect of Franklin Neighborhood Library, because it's a fairly new library, even though it's been at that Franklin High location for several decades. And I know that was one of the facilities that was considered not able to be as flexible based on the agreement that is done with the school district. I'm wondering if there were any surveys or discussions that was held with the public to help come to a certain decision on when the life cycle of utilizing the Franklin Neighborhood Library would come to an end, to where we would make a more central library at the District 56 location. Because I know for future discussions, District 56 and having a site there at the corner of Civic Center and Bighorn has been on the discussion table for quite some time. But I was curious about if there had been discussions involving people within the Franklin and East Franklin neighborhood to really discuss and explore what that would look like and how that would look like, especially if we come to the stage where the library itself, we're unable to do the programming that we need to do or the day-to-day operations that we're currently doing, that would make us want to explore the opportunities of making that shift even sooner.
We did not have any specific conversations with the district, I don't think. That was not part of it. We did hear in the community survey, there were people who say Franklin Library is one of the ones that I use, said it's a little bit difficult for me to get there, or it feels like a school library, not like a public library. People are aware that it's a joint use facility. A joint school public library facilities are not fundamentally a bad idea. But they are tricky to get right. And the flexibility was not a comment on the building itself. It was just the way that partnership is working right now isn't quite as agile as the library would like it to be. So if that can be addressed, that may be a fine home for the library in the future. But if not, then there's an alternative for the library and the community to talk about.
Yes, because I know that area is fast growing. The neighborhoods around District 56, south of Casuma's Oaks High School, is rapidly growing, and just trying to identify what would be a more central location that would allow, say, for us to do a library like Elk Grove Library, where we can have more control of our programming. That would definitely be worth a discussion. And hopefully this is something that we could engage with the Elk Grove Unified School District at some point in the near future. Because like you said, programming, hours, being able to go in and feel like you can actually do what you are going there for and not feel like you're being constrained by whatever is being done based on the hybrid agreement can definitely help the user, the customer in that respect. Because the location is down by Franklin High School, and it feels like we would need something more central, something that everyone can go to and gravitate towards. District 56 is a highly used area, and having the library there definitely makes sense. It's just a matter of what those discussions will look like and what our timetable would be towards looking at and exploring what those next steps would be.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Well, that's part of what comes next, I guess. You know, we've collected a lot of good information, and now it's going to be a matter of determining what our priorities will be and what money's available for which priorities, and that will tell us which ones float to the top as this is where we begin. And I'm not quite sure if I mean, I don't know if there's a plan for that or if we're not there yet. I think this is a process that we're working through, right, Peter?
Yeah, yes, Chair Frost. Yeah, and thank you, Director Brewer, for the question. Yeah, we are building the replacement Elk Grove right now, and this plan is to highlight what needs to happen next, and the possibility is a library at that district area. So we have talked with staff at Elk Grove about that big plan, because that's always been the plan. I don't have any timeline, but I know that we are working together with them to figure out what the next steps are, and those conversations with the library users will be part of that, to see what that new facility would look like and what services they'd like to see there.
Thanks, Peter.
But I don't know when that will happen, but soon, which could mean 5 years, I don't know, but probably that's probably more of a realistic timeline for start of those conversations.
But there will always be a public process.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll know when it's coming because there's a public process.
Yes, and we'll work closely with you, Director Brewer, about getting funding for that and making it happen. So,
thank you, Peter. Because I know we will be working on the Waterman Road, Elk Grove Boulevard library in pretty short order, and so it's just making sure that we do everything in a successor fashion. Because once that library is done, then we'll probably want to start talking about what and where the new location would be. And it looks like if District 56 is going to be that location, making sure that it's consistent with where we are all going, not only in the library plan, but also the city's 5-year capital improvement plan as well. But this is all good stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Brewer. Oh, do we have any more directors who have comments or questions? I believe now we have some public comments.
We have a McClatchy Friends member, Diane Gregory.
Good afternoon, Diane.
Good afternoon. I would just like to thank Director Valenzuela for her remarks about McClatchy and McKinley libraries and their importance to particularly the City of Sacramento, Midtown, East Sac. We have thousands of library users who use McClatchy Library in particular. Children, they come from all over the county to come and use our library because they enjoy being in that building. We have seniors, adults, families with children. We have all kinds of people come through our library and really, really enjoy it. We have, it is on TripAdvisor as a place to see in Sacramento because of the beautiful architecture of the building. And it is an agile space because we have 2 community rooms upstairs that are public meeting places. It's just a very great community resource, and we would hate to see something happen to it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's true. A library in a community is very personal, and you don't really realize it until the community starts coming out and voicing. I mean, I've learned that in my district in a big way. So thank you very much for your comments. Okay, do we have any other public comments? No. And so this is an item that we need to approve. If everyone is, if there are no questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Vang.
I'll second.
And Director Maple. And if you'll call the roll, please.
Sean Laloe. Karina Talamontes.
Yes.
Katie Valenzuela.
Yes.
Katie Maple.
Aye.
Mai Vang.
Yes.
Phil Cerna.
Aye.
Patrick Kennedy. Rich Desmond. Sue Frost,
Aye.
Pat Hume, Mary Jane Lopez Taff,
Yes.
Rod Brewer,
Aye.
Kevin Spees,
Aye.
Sean Farmer,
Yes.
Garrett Gatewood, Bina Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Saul Hernandez,
Aye.
and that's unanimous with 12 members present.
Great, and I just want to thank you, Jill, and your team for all your hard work. I know this is a lot of work went into it, and your presentation was so clear and helpful for us. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you
And
very
for
much
all
for the
your work.
opportunity.
All right, next item is reports, ideas, and questions from board members. And I see none. So this meeting is adjourned at 4:03 p.m. Thank you.